right? Today's topic is about intuitive eating, right? Because this is a huge thing. It really, really is. And when you are really trying to find food freedom and you are healing in a healing journey from either having an eating disorder, from having disordered eating habits, or just having not a positive relationship with food, intuitive eating is a huge and important thing that you can do to really get that back, right? To get yourself back. But there is constant, I see this all the time, where say you read a book and about intuitive eating and then you try to do it and then you're like, oh my God, this didn't work, something didn't work, like I'm obviously sucking at this for some reason, something went wrong. That happens all the time, right? Because it's one thing to read it, but it's another thing to be able to actually understand and implement it. So I really wanted to talk today about, hey Sunny, about what it actually is, intuitive eating, what it's not, and really the 10 things to consider when eating intuitively. All righty? So to begin, what actually is intuitive eating? And intuitive eating is really about trusting your inner body wisdom to make choices around food that actually feel good to you, right? It's not influenced by diet culture. It's not influenced by what you should be eating or things in that nature, right? It's not strict rules that you've created for yourself either. It's really what feels good to you. And in the end, it's about reconnecting you with your body so you can really start to begin the healing relationship with food. All right? It really is that simple, so to speak, but we often make it more complicated than it actually is, mainly because our insecurities get involved, our fears get involved, our self-doubt gets involved, and it likes to jumble it all up. But that really is what intuitive eating actually is. Now, what it isn't, it is not a weight loss or weight gain tool, right? That's a diet. Diets don't work in that nature, but we often think of it that way, like you can utilize this in a tool, and that's not what it is, right? Like it's about you getting in tune with you. It has nothing to do with weight loss, and it has nothing to do with weight gain, right? Totally separate and totally unnecessary to think of. So I want to go over 3 things that will happen when you begin to eat intuitively. 1, your weight will go up. 2, or 3 things that might happen. Your weight might go up, your weight might go down, and your weight might stay the same. Now, do I know which one that's going to be? Nope. Can you determine which one that is going to be? Nope, not really. Say you were in a very restrictive diet though, and you had to restrict quite a bit to maintain a weight. And now you start to actually eat the foods that you want to love and enjoy. Maybe your weight goes up, right? Maybe your weight actually doesn't and it stays the same. Maybe it goes down, right? Like those are the 3 things that might happen. But which one scares you the most out of all of that? Probably the weight will go up one, right? And that is super scary. That was a huge thing for me too. It's a huge thing for a lot of people, especially if they associate weight with value and moralness of you, right? Like you associate that stuff, but I get it, right? The 3, I like to call them like the 3 U's: the unknown, the uncomfortable, and the unfamiliar. Those things are super scary, and that can happen when you go into something that is new to you and you don't know what the outcome is actually going to be. But intuitive eating's outcome is really just about you healing the relationship that you have with food and being okay with it and enjoying it once again. All right, so what then happens when you actually start to listen to your body, right? So instead of being in a constant disagreement, you finally that you'll be able to actually communicate, right? Both efficiently and effectively, so both sides are satisfied and happy. And when I say both sides, that's really going to be you and food, right? You and your relationship with food. You can go hand in hand. You can be happy with one another. You don't have to always be screaming at each other. You don't have to hate each other, right? Like you don't have any of that. You can really be okay with it. And that's what this is going to do for you. So I want to point out there is no one size fits all in this. There really isn't. There's no perfect way to go about doing this. There is just your way. It's going to be specific for you. It's going to be individualized for you. And it's only going to matter to you. All right, so please stop comparing. And that includes scrolling on social media and seeing what everyone else is eating and thinking that's how you're supposed to eat. That's what intuitive eating looks like. You're missing the whole picture on that. The whole picture behind intuitive eating is the mindset piece behind it. All right, not the foods actually eaten in that sense. All right, so to help with the confusion and to help you understand how to really implement this into practice, right, into reality, I want to give you the 10 things to consider when you are eating intuitively. Okie dokie, now when I go through this, feel free to ask questions while I'm doing it. And if not, totally cool. All right, so the first one, you must, this one's the toughie, you must reject the diet mentality. I know I said it, I'll say it again. Please get rid of it, right? That offers only false hope of one, like losing weight, having it be actually easy, and the most importantly, the false hope that it's permanent, right? How often say you did lose weight, did you gain some back, or all of it, or even more of it back, right? Any type of diet is going to be a restriction. It really is. And if you have to restrict to maintain this certain weight, that's not you. Like, that's not what it's supposed to be. That's not your body's type, in a sense, right? And often, right, when one diet fails, you go to the next and to the next and to the next, and you feel like a failure for it. But it's not you that has failed in any of this. It's the diet itself, because that's the mentality behind the diet, right? That's it. Diets really just lead to an enhanced food obsession because you're constantly having to think about it. And it leads you really further from achieving the mind-body connection that's needed to have intuitive eating in your life. So please, step 1, reject the diet mentality. All right, 2, honor your hunger, right? How often, and I used to do this all the time, where you're like, you know what? I'm hungry right now, but it's not my ideal snack time. It's not actually lunchtime, right? Or I just ate 30 minutes ago. There's no freaking way that I can actually be hungry right now. So you don't eat. The hunger gets even worse, even more extreme. Like you are a ravenous person at this point. And then when you come across any food whatsoever, you just go like apeshit on it, right? Like you eat it all. That happens when you aren't honoring your hunger, right? It really is a type of restriction that can really start to trigger an overeating mentality and binge eating, right? Because you are constantly saying no when your body is saying yes. And that, once again, is not having that connection there. There is no collaboration in any of this. So it really would want you to take the time, because you probably have been silencing this hunger cue, you've been ignoring it, or you've been overriding it. So this, it takes some time to really get back to honoring your true hunger, because you've been not for some time. So please be kind to yourself when you're doing this. All right? Which leads into step 3, which is make peace with food. All food. Please give yourself permission to eat unconditionally, right? That there's an unconditional permission to eat in any of this, right? So please stop telling yourself that you shouldn't eat that, you can't eat that, right? You're not supposed to eat that. It only leads to intense feelings of want and desire, right? And as a result, you have uncontrollable cravings. You probably might binge on some of this food, right? Because you finally have given into it, and then what happens? Right? So you really need to stop the food labels. Nothing is forbidden, nothing is off limits, because really that mindset is going to lead to an overwhelming guilt and shame and judgment mentality behind it. And that's not positive. That's not really going to help you get to where you want to be when you're finding that food freedom. All right, so please make peace with food. All right, 4. This one's a toughie. This one was a toughie. But doable. Challenge the food police, right? Tell that lovely inner self-critic of yours to shut the F up, right? You don't even have to say it nicely. Like, just tell them to shut up. Just be like, shh, stop talking because it can really get in your way. It can really be this massive loud noise in your mind that exceeds anything that you're trying to do. It really, really can. And there really is no good versus bad in any of this with intuitive eating. You're not a good person because you ate healthy foods. You're also not a bad person because you ate junk food. You are you. There is no moral value when it comes to the foods that you are eating. All right, so food policing loves to seek out the unreasonable and unrealistic food rules that dieting and you created, right? It seeks it out and it like highlights them, it underlines them, it bolds them, it just puts them right in front of your freaking face all the time. But you gotta challenge that and tell it to shut up, all right? Yeah, what are you, Sunny? Yes. Quiet to that inner dialogue. It's not helpful. It really isn't. It just really keeps you in this really negative mindset behind it. So this one out of them is a huge and an important critical step in really finding intuitive eating. Cam, you're saying not a failure for eating chocolate. Yes, there is no failure. You're just eating chocolate. That's it. You ate chocolate. That's it. And then move on. I know it sounds simpler than it is, but it does take that repetition, because how long have you been telling yourself that you were a failure for eating chocolate? Probably a long time. So to just do it once and think that, oh my God, it's like just chocolate now, is unrealistic. You just got to keep going at it, right? You got to create that new habit and that new dialogue for yourself. All right, leads to 5. Respect your fullness, right? Listen to your body's signals that are actually telling you that you are full. Now this one can be hard, right? Because you probably once again have been silencing that, you were ignoring it or overriding it. So it's going to take some time to get back to that. And one thing you can really do is just pause in the middle of eating whatever you're eating or in the meal. Just stop. Stop and really see what's going on. Remind yourself that you are present in the moment. Acknowledge that maybe your thoughts started to trail off, maybe you started to trail off and you weren't paying attention to the foods that you're eating, and instead you were doing who knows what, calculating stuff in your mind, like you were thinking of other things and not paying attention to food. So really pause, and when you give yourself that opportunity to reconnect and see what's going on in the present tense, then you can ask yourself, how is the food tasting? Am I still hungry? And if anything, you can walk away and then come back to it later and see how it's going. You don't have to finish what you started. There is no rules to this in that sense. There is no right or wrong. You are just eating, and if you need to take a break and really get in tune again with, are you full or are you still hungry, go and do it, all right? Like I said, this step can take some time, because to be able to truly recognize your fullness, especially if you've been ignoring it for a while. And for me, when I would be eating, I would eat so quickly, like in less than 5 minutes, that I would be full like that. I would feel very uncomfortable because I didn't even listen to it and I kept going over that. So I really had to start to slow down and eat and pay attention to what I was actually doing. All right? Respect the fullness. Now 6. Which goes into sort of this, is rediscover what satisfaction and being satisfied actually means to you. Right now, I do want to point out that feeling satisfied and feeling full are 2 very different things, right? Fullness is going to be different. Satisfied is going to be that you actually feel content with what you've been eating. And like I said, they're 2 very different. You could have gotten to the point where you're like, yeah, I'm full, but I'm not satisfied yet. So maybe you continue to eat a little bit more. Totally cool. You honored what was going on. You rediscovered that you were going to be more satisfied and content if you ate a little bit more, and that's that, right? But when you eat what you really, really want in an environment that's going to be inviting and supporting of this, you'll be able to truly recognize and understand what feeling satisfied actually means. And it will be very different. For you, it might be very different in terms of what you're eating at that time, per meal, per snack, per food, whatever. All right, but it's going to be a thing that you have to get in tune with each time. Cam, you said you can walk away. You don't have to finish what you started. Yes. right? We do, right? We do get into the habit. I used to always do this where like I had to eat everything on my plate. I just had to. I couldn't put it away, right? Because I couldn't understand that there was another time that I could actually eat this. I didn't have to do it at this one particular time. There could be leftovers, or maybe in 10-15 minutes I can come back and actually eat it again. It was going to be there. It wasn't going to disappear. It wasn't going to be my last time eating it. But yes, you can walk away from it. There's nothing wrong with that. All right. 7, honor the feelings without food. This can be tricky because how often do we find ways to, comfort ourselves, to nurture ourselves, to distract ourselves, to resolve, whatever issue at hand with food, right? We constantly are having food present in a lot of those situations. So we just do 2 and 2 at once, right? So we want to be able to honor the feelings without it and really separate, right, the emotions from the food itself. Because many times when you do have the feelings of anxiety or loneliness or boredom or sadness or anger, they can be a trigger to go run to food to try and help, sorry, I have something in my eye, to help fix or solve the problem at hand. And then what happens? The problem still isn't solved. Like, food obviously didn't solve any of that. It didn't, it couldn't, it can't. Right? So we really have to separate those two so we can actually address what needs to be addressing, which can be tricky. It really can, because we're often so consumed with putting 2 and 2 together. So you really have to be willing to separate that and really dive into the emotional piece of it and the feelings component of it, because that's what's going to really lead you to be able to separate them, right? But the emotions are scary. It's a scary thing because we obviously are trying to not deal with it for a particular reason. So you're gonna have to. You're gonna have to get vulnerable. You're gonna have to be willing to look deep and get down and dirty with yourself with all of this. But if you're really wanting this change and you're really wanting food freedom, this is kind of be the stuff that you're gonna really have to work on. All right. Number 8, respect your body. No body shaming allowed ever again. Nope. Stop it. Stop it right here. Because with last week's video was about self-acceptance. This too goes into intuitive eating, right? You need to be able to respect your body in all of this. Because respecting your body, that's when you can start to feel better about who you are. When you feel better about who you are not going to be in this constant mindset of having to change it. And when you are constantly trying to change it, what is one easy thing that you tend to lean towards? Food. Right? Food and exercise. Those are 2 common things that you try to do to change it, because you're trying to change how you look physically, right? So you need to be able to respect your body and be okay with what it is right now, not what it had been in the past and not what you're trying to get to in the future. Be okay with it right now, all right? Because it's hard to reject the diet mentality if you are constantly overcritical about your body shape and size, right? Because why do you think you turned to dieting in the first place? By respecting your body and being okay with you now, that piece totally goes away, right? That's not even a trigger anymore. So you got to be able to respect your body. All right, 9, incorporate physical movement. Pay attention as how I said physical movement. I did not say exercise. I did not say working out. Those are very different, right? Exercise and working out can have often a negative connotation with this because you often associate that with having to burn calories, having to, burn off all the unwanted calories and giving yourself or compensating for foods that you have eaten, or also compensating and giving yourself permission to eat certain foods because you worked out that day and you made room for it, so to speak. So they're different. That's not the same. Incorporating physical movement is all about getting to a point where you feel good about yourself, right? You feel energized and you can feel like you, because physical movement in general is a good thing. No one wants to just sit around and do nothing. Our bodies naturally want movement. They really, really do. But it doesn't have to mean that you have to sweat your ass off for it, that you have to feel completely out of breath for it, or you have to feel like you might just die after it. That's totally unnecessary, and you don't really need that, right? That can also lead to even more stressors within the body than good, which could be a whole nother topic in itself. So I'm not going to go into that one. But common things that you can do if you're like, well, what the hell is physical movement then if I'm not exercising, right? You could just go for a walk. You could go dancing. You can do yoga. You could do gardening. You could do lawn care, right? You could take the stairs instead of the elevator. You could literally park if you're going somewhere far away from where you have to go, so you walk and do things in there, right? You could just go biking, like a nice leisurely bike. One thing that I'd love to do, which I haven't done yet, is go tandem biking. Like, right, this can be a social thing, not so much a burning of calories thing. Or rollerblading. I did see someone, there was a couple, I remember this, I did a video, I incorporated them in a video, but they were rollerblading, and they were like in their 60s. They were having so much fun there. It wasn't about trying to work out or things like that, it was just about connecting too. Connecting with other people, or really just connecting back again with you. So incorporate physical movement. And 10. This one is going to be an important one, obviously, but this one also is very specific to you and you only, which is honoring your health, right? Also make note, I did not say healthy, I said health. They are different, right? Healthy is usually given to, I would say that's more in the diet culture. Health in general is going to be specific to you. And I would love for you to be able to define what that means to you without food, without exercise in there, right? Define it without those two items, because you've probably been defining it with those two items for a long time. And it has so much more to do with you as a person and how you view yourself and the relationship that you have with you than it has anything to do with the foods that you eat or the calories that you burn. All right, so really understand what health is to you and write that definition out for yourself. All right, you're not suddenly going to gain weight from a snack, from one meal, from one day of eating, or from missing a workout. That is not how that works. I know it seems like it is, but it really isn't. So I really want you to honor your health in all of this. All right? Well, bam! I just gave you 10 things to consider when eating intuitively. You got this. You really do. It is an amazing thing to do. And it can seem challenging when you are trying to eat intuitively for the first time after you have had a long history of food obsession or an unhealthy relationship with food, or always dieting, or always worrying about your weight, or always criticizing yourself with how you look and things like that. But you most definitely can do this. All right, Cammy is saying honor and respect. Yes, honor and respect yourself, man. Stop putting yourself down. Be nice to yourself for once. Be nice. Let's see, the common words that seem to go with intuitive eating. Yes, honor and respect. Also, you can note that it had nothing to do with food. There was no food in there. I wasn't talking about specific foods that you need to eat or anything like that, because it really comes down to you and trusting, that inner body wisdom and being okay with your body telling you things and not ignoring it, not silencing it, and not blowing it off, but actually listening to it. That is intuitive eating. All right. Now, if you're catching the replay later on and you had questions, please ask me in there so I can answer them. If you are watching right now and you have any other questions, please let me know and I can answer them. But I'm just going to recap these 10 steps here quickly for you. So the first one is going to be reject that diet mentality. Say adios to it, because it's no longer helping you or serving you, and it never has. Honor your hunger. This one can be tricky, but super important, and you can do it. You just got to be patient with yourself. All right. Make peace with food. There are no foods that are off limits. There are no foods that are forbidden. There are only food. So please make peace with it. All right. Challenge the food police. Like silence that lovely inner critic that is just constantly nagging and nagging and nagging. Tell it to shut the F up, man. Silence it. All right. 5, respect your fullness. All right. This can be challenging at first because you may not have even paid attention to it and you may have always kept going over it. But you can do it. You just got to take the time, be present within the moment as what's going on, and be okay that you can maybe walk away from it, that what you're eating, and then come back, right? Give yourself some time with this. 6, rediscover satisfaction. Being satisfied, like I said, is very different than feeling full. So it's being satisfied with what you're eating. Like you have that awareness that, you know what, maybe I'm full, but I'm not satisfied yet. I still need a little bit more. That's totally cool. Eat it, all right? 7, honor feelings without food. Separate the two, separate the emotions from the food. Because right now and before, you've probably been putting them together and that has not been very helpful for you. So separate those two. 8, respect your body. All right, this goes in self-acceptance. You need to be okay with who you are right now. Because once you do, you will start to truly feel better about who you are. And in turn, you're going to see results happening that allow you to eat the foods that you want without the fear and having like that guilt and shame and judgment afterwards. All right. 9, incorporate physical movement. Remember, I did not say exercise. I did not say working out. They are different. Physical movement is just movement. You're physically moving your body, because when you do that, it's a very awesome way, an amazing way to feel good about you and feel energized and really reconnect with you as a person, but not trying to burn off unwanted calories, not trying to compensate for foods that you had eaten or are going to eat, right? Very different. And 10, honor your health. Not healthy, but health, right? It is going to be very different from you. This is not a perfectionist way of living by any means. And you really have to understand what health means to you. And I challenge you to have this definition, not include food and not include exercise in it, because that's not what this is about. All right, intuitive eating is about trusting your inner body wisdom, really reconnecting back with you and your body so you can start to begin the healing relationship with food. All right, that is a wrap. Now, if you are like, holy shit, all of this totally makes sense to me, but I don't know how to actually implement this, please reach out to me. This is exactly what I help my clients with, all right? I help you through this because this can seem overwhelming. It really, really can. It did for me. I needed some guidance in this because I love to be my own worst enemy, just like as you are going to be your own worst enemy in any of this. So if you're looking for the extra support in helping you really incorporate this into your life, reach out. I will put my calendar in the comments and find a time that works best for you and we can chat. All right, for the free, it's a free call. It really is. And it really is to dive deep and figure out how we can get you back to feeling like you. All right. So I will put the calendar in the comments. But yes, if you're looking for some extra support and guidance, please reach out. All right.